NESS, Nightmare Extraction and Storage Solutions by Simon Laurence Doyle. Episode 1, Insula. Teaser, exterior lakeside, field, night, dream sequence. A field of waist-high grass. Frozen mist hangs in the air, cutting silver moonlight into rainbow colours. Overhead, stars burn in the sky, countless infinities laid against an infinite sky. And everywhere, there is a gentle, throbbing tone, the sound of a Tibetan singing bowl.
Boss, everything okay?
Harlow Cole, 40s, grizzled, past his prime if he ever had one, walks through the grass. There's a single path perfectly cut through it, as though it had been waiting for him. He holds out his hands to the grass at his sides, flicks off frozen beads of dew from the tips. They glitter like cascading starlight as they fall.
You can't daydream in a dream, boss. It gets messy and confusing.
Outlines of trees in the distance, no sign of life. Exterior, lakeside, jetty, night, dream sequence. The grass thins as Harlow approaches a jetty, old wood brushed by salt water. A rowboat, vivid emerald green from prow to stern, is moored on a millpond lake.
I love being your instigator, Harlow. Love the work. I'm just a bit tired of being eviscerated, or bludgeoned, or chainsawed for that matter.
Harlow stands on the water's edge, removes two things from his pocket. A fluorescent electronic device resembling a BlackBerry and an old-school service revolver. He lays them on the decking, untethers the boat from its mooring point, climbs in with a peaceful smile. Exterior, lake's centre, night, dream sequence. Now in the middle of the lake, Harlow lets the oars drop, watches his breath plume in the still air. Gentle swell mingles with the Tibetan bowl music as the boat ebbs and bobs before falling still. Back on the mainland, a hulking shadow stands on the jetty. A gleaming set of silver teeth appear in the darkness.
Harlow?
Harlow gives the shadow an unconcerned wave, lies back in the boat, looks up at the stars. As the singing bowl tone crescendos, the stars move and twist in the sky, a billion constellations dancing for him. Prelap, disjointed, wheezy carousel music. Act 1, exterior, fairground, night, a horror aficionado's wet dream. Abandoned rides, lights off, vacant stalls, ominous shadows. A flash of lightning illuminates Harlow, leaning against a derelict ghost train, daydreaming and vacant.
Harlow!
Harlow puts a finger up to the earpiece, glowing a faint blue in his ear, glances inside the ghost train.
Oh, sorry, AJ, miles away. Ghost train clear. Shame. You played well on the highlights reel.
He continues walking through the fairground. Everything is disused, covered in cobwebs and dust.
So, let's get ahead of Lena this time, shall we? NESS, Code of Conduct, Mission Statement. From the top, please.
You got it, boss. Number 1, infiltrate the subconscious, causing minimal psychological disruption.
Correct. Last thing we want is to turn our clients' brains into mush. Imagine the feedback.
A huge crash of thunder and mist starts to roll in like cheap special effects.
Number 2.
Locate, weaken, and capture the... Gonna stop you right there.
Stop. It's me.
Sorry.
Gonna stop you right there. I don't care what they say. I'm not comfortable with the N-word. Nightmare is, my opinion, a reductive word. Trauma is far more appropriate.
Okay, boss. Locate, weaken, and capture the trauma.
Harlow pulls his jacket up further against the driving rain, stops in front of another ride.
And do it with extreme prejudice.
That's definitely not in the book.
It's in my book. Ferris wheel clear.
He taps the ride's side, knocks off a patina of rust.
Relatively clear, anyway.
He heads towards a multicoloured circus tent that dominates the fairground. It does not look inviting.
And mission statements, rules and regulations aside, what is the most important thing I've taught you?
Harlow stops outside the tent. The entrance is a gigantic harlequin mouth with wild eyes on the tent's top.
Don't get rattled.
Bingo. Never get rattled.
Interior, fairground, hall of mirrors, night. mirrors within mirrors. Cracks and bulges show nightmare images that twist and distort in the half-light. Harlow creeps forward. 100 misshapen doppelgangers creep with him.
Ooh, spooky and so cliché.
A figure peels away from one of the mirrors behind him. He doesn't notice as it creeps closer. Closer.
What's your six? What's your six, AJ? AJ?
The shadow rears directly behind him, and a voice hisses in his ear, making him nearly shit his pants.
Do we have to say?
Harlow jumps, spins around, smacks the hooded shadow around the head. It knocks a dirty hoodie back, revealing AJ, 20s, Asian, male, veneer of extreme enthusiasm that hides a deeply intelligent mind.
Right. Rule 3 should be don't jump out on me unless you want my boot up your ass.
Sorry, boss. Always been good at making myself invisible. Oh, my dad once told me a room feels empty even when I'm in it.
Wow. That's...
He looks at AJ's happy expression, can't bring himself to finish his sentence. Somewhere in the Hall of Mirrors, there's a clink of metal on metal. The two stiffen.
You've got the state.
AJ hands across a device we last saw being dropped on a jetty, a fluorescent BlackBerry called a state. Harlow checks its side. 2 markings, empty and full. A needle currently points to empty. He taps it, expression pure adrenaline.
Not for long, eh? Onwards.
The two advance, mirror images moving with them. Eventually, they come to a beaded curtain that obscures the next room. Harlow shuts his eyes, focuses. A flash of light and an old-school service revolver materializes in his hand. AJ watches him with an expression approaching awe.
Weapon, check. State, check. All that's left is to send in the bait.
Instigator. The title's Instigator. We instigate the scenario. Draw out the quarry.
Tomato, tomato.
AJ goes to push past the curtain, stops.
I'm not telling you a job. I mean, you're a legend in this line of work.
Harlow waves his hands. Get to the point.
But please don't take so long this time. This job's so fulfilling, but there's something about having your intestines removed that can,
Leave you feeling so empty inside? You can't die, AJ. So, how about you stop your bitching and go fetch me a dream?
Another gleeful grin, and he pushes AJ through the beaded curtain. Interior, fairground, inner sanctum, night. Candles flicker light over hanging drapes, mouths, eyes, and teeth motif, like a boudoir designed by Hieronymus Bosch. AJ tiptoes in, squints.
Oh, this is unnerving. The deco has given me a headache.
Fractals, subconscious loops. Fractals. Come on, instigate. Instigate.
AJ gives an awkward cough, looks around, shrugs.
Hello? I'm here. Terrified and 100% unarmed.
The sudden whine of carousel music, starting slow but getting faster, louder, higher.
That's the ticket. What are you thinking this time? How many legs? How many teeth?
Honestly, just being here is a privilege, Mr. Cole.
And a figure bursts from behind the curtains and smashes AJ to the floor.
And he's down.
AJ struggles against the figure that's got him pinned to the floor. He knocks it off him, jumps to his feet. He grabs a candelabra, holds it aloft, and we see a clown. A nightmare clown, literally. 7 feet tall, dirty orange hair, bulbous red nose, evil red eyes. Blood drips from his mouth as he grins, reveals a wide smile filled with razor-sharp teeth.
Oh, come on. Not a clown.
The clown raises a gigantic knife, lets out a banshee screech and charges at AJ, knocking him to the floor again.
Oh dear.
The clown plunges the knife into AJ's chest again and again. Each one gives off a very terminal-sounding smash.
I think he's seen me, boss.
AJ tries to kick the clown back, but it smacks him around the face, resumes its frantic stabbing.
Anytime.
The clown rears its head, bares its teeth and bites down. More very terminal sounding noises.
Okay, fine, fine. A clown's not really what I need, you know.
The clown leans back, AJ's blood bubbling from its mouth, pulls back its knife one last time. Bang! The clown topples forward and Harlow enters, smoking revolver held before him. He takes a look at AJ.
Well, he did a number on you. Biting too. That's a new one.
A screech, and the clown levitates back to its feet, turns its head to Harlow, opens its mouth with a hiss.
Not right now, thanks.
He aims the revolver without looking, pulls the trigger. Splat, and a now headless clown returns to the floor. Harlow fastidiously removes a piece of gloopy-looking brain matter from his coat, pulls out the state again.
Can't believe it. I forgot my raincoat. This is ridiculous.
He presses a button on the state, sets it down by what remains of the clown. The clown's body dematerializes into smoke that is sucked into the state. A buzz, and the needle on the side moves to full.
Another damn clown. Honestly.
He looks down at what remains of AJ. Despite looking very terminal, AJ is still smiling encouragingly.
So, are you coming or what?
Right behind you. Don't mind me.
Harlow taps another button on the device. A blinding flash of light overtakes everything, and we're suddenly in interior, NESS department, Lab 1 day, a shabby laboratory. Equipment that was once probably top of the range, now a bit battered and tarnished, leans against off-white walls. Tibetan bowl music echoes from wall to wall. Low lighting, a cross between clinical sterility and a yoga retreat. Huge letters plaster a wall. Nightmare Extraction and Storage Solutions, NESS, Super, London, England, 2030. Harlow lies on a gurney beside AJ. They both have electrodes stuck to their temples. The real-life counterpart to Harlow's state sits in a container beside him. Harlow's eyes flutter and he gives a groan. A man waking from the deepest sleep imaginable. A scientist, 30s, slightly bumbling and constantly nervous, runs across to him, hands him a cup of water.
Too kind.
A sudden flash of light, and the state turns opaque, as if filled with swirling fog. The dial on its side flicks from empty to full, and it returns to its normal colour. AJ is rousing as well, though the frown on his face says his transition to the waking world is a lot less pleasant.
Oh, I don't feel very well.
Whinge. Unlike poor, vulnerable me, you can't die in there. So what's the problem?
No, it's not that easy. You see...
He trails off, sits up, sways, then vomits loudly.
Thank goodness for that. Thought I was due another lecture.
He stands unsteady, sidesteps the puddle of vomit, takes 2 aspirin sat on the table beside him, knocks back the pills dry.
A damn clown. Really?
I don't mean to be rude, but it seems like you could have come to my rescue before that thing gnawed the flesh from my skull, you know, rather than after.
Oh, yeah, sure. Blame the victim.
This isn't how people treat their partners, Harlow.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Mate, not partner. A partner would make my life easier. It's like
Blame to
in...
the scientist.
Thank you. Like ensuring I had a drink waiting for me when I wake up. Like good old...
We're at page 11
We
now.
are,
John.
yeah.
Oh, I was really
But
getting
thank
into it.
you for carrying on. Because, thank you. I was enjoying that.
Oh, I'm going to read the rest of this one.
Yes,
Okay.
I think we've got it, haven't we? I think
Yeah,
we've got up to
got
the
the
end.
full script.
I've made some notes, and shall I start off and
Yeah,
then
do.
go around? So I thought it was very intriguing, very interesting. I've got some sort of like housekeeping notes and some stuff about, so I'll just go through. The main thing I thought was we get to that expose bit of NESS, you know, what NESS is, too late, I think. We're page 9, and it takes us to page 9 before we really understand what's going on. I think it's dribbled a little bit too slow for me anyway. You have different thoughts on that. What I would have liked to have seen is something right at the start, a real punch in the guts thing at the start, and then start on this. This is really beautifully written, and the dialogue is great. I have no issues with any of that. I like how it opens as well. I just think I would have had something really like wham to kind of make you go, oh my God, and then start in with this lovely stuff as it starts and build up to this is NESS, you know, and this is what happens. And because I do love all of it, that was just, and that might just be me. I mean, I thought it has sort of echoes of Stephen King, and Stephen King did a fairground novel, didn't he? And I can't remember what it was called, but I've read it. Joyride, I think it was called. What it was, I thought when you got to when they said shit his pants, I thought, how do we know that watching the suddenly have a great big brown stain on his trousers or something. Just you know, just like
it's all in the expression, I think.
It's all in the expression, exactly. So the only other thing that apart from the fact that you don't need bold scene headings, they're fine just in caps. The other thing, at first when the voice came over, I realized he was hearing a voice, and I wasn't sure where this voice was coming from. I thought, is it an omnipresent voice? Is it a voice in his head? It was only a little bit later, and I didn't know what page it was, but there was a little bit later that that they mentioned the earpiece.
Yeah.
And I thought that surely needs to be up top. Maybe he can touch it or something when he's listening or something, just to give you the indication that he is actually hearing this in his ear.
Yeah, just see past his camera, we can see it in his ears. Something really simple,
something very simple. Just then you think, oh, okay, he's being fed these lines. The other thing was in relation to AJ. So there's no name for this voice at the start, which is fine. But then we see him physically, and he's not ID'd in dialogue either. So it's like, unless yes, I guess we join up the voice and we go, oh, this is the same person. But it is kind of usual to creep in somehow a name somewhere, so that people can kind of log it. It's very subtle. Doesn't need to be repeated, you know. He can just turn and say, bloody hell, AJ, or, you know, why did you jumped out at me, or whatever. Just so that we do have an idea about who this person is, because otherwise he's got no name. And in actual fact, Harlow isn't named either, but, you know, I assume that will come at some point.
Yes, he does. Yeah, he does
mention it, doesn't he? He does.
He does call it Hollow. That's at one point when he goes.
So he is. Yeah. So he's covered up. There's a couple of typos, but not many really, and that's fine. Other than that, I don't think I made any other notes on it. Yeah. Would love to know what happens next.
Thank you. Shall I go?
Yeah, go.
Yeah. I thought, you know, the teaser and the very beginning, there's some gorgeous imagery. It's, you know, really novelistic the way that's written. It's very beautiful. I did worry about cost if we're having to go to these locations, if there's going to be a lot of different locations like that, changing frequently. And I liked it that, you know, there was some humor got in early about daydreaming during a dream. I like that it's, you know, it's got some fun to it, which is really nice. And you know, mystery and intrigue from the word go. Yeah, I'm thinking about what you said, Angela, about do we need some little glimpse of them, you know, on the bed, or something about the device there, and then we see the device in the, you know, in the rowing boat or something like that. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm thinking about that. It didn't bother me at the time, but I wonder whether it would help to have that. I am curious, do we have acts in a TV series? I don't know whether that's helpful or not. Why are they telling each other the rules if they've both done this before? I'm not sure if AJ's new. He nearly got away with it, and I suddenly thought, hang on a minute. And I went back and I thought, I don't know. I mean, unless it's sort of something that they have to
Hide
go
that
through
exposition.
every single time. But why? I think the exposition isn't quite decently buried enough, I think. It moves along briskly, you know, them doing that, but I'm not quite sure why it's being done apart from for our benefits. Yeah, is AJ new? And I just thought, oh, camera folk are going to be so like, no, not filming in a hall of mirrors. That's going to be so hard, isn't it? Oh dear. But maybe a good challenge. Yeah, I didn't know what your 6 meant, whether it was your 6th point and we'd missed some of them in the cut between the two scenes.
It's
What
like
is that?
basically
Is that a
behind
thing?
you. It's
Oh,
it's
6
fighter
o'clock.
pilot talk.
I'm just
12 o'clock up
It-
front, 6
I'm
behind.
just not military enough, am I?
It's military its military purpose is spatial awareness.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
It
be aware
works
of
on
what's
the
behind
clock.
you.
Yeah.
It works on the clock. Where you are looking is midnight.
Oh, I see.
And
And when
then
people say 2 o'clock and stuff, yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha.
If somebody goes, oh, there's a bad guy at your 2 o'clock, that means he's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Over there, lovely, thank you. I think that they are nice character contrast, although the third person that comes in seems slightly, possibly a bit AJ-ish. I don't know, he's got that bumbling sort of kind of on his nerves thing, but I like AJ's, you know, combination of great enthusiasm and intelligence, and you know, the sort of more world weary Harlow character. Oh, Don's fallen over. All right there. I thought it was an intriguing premise, and I'd really like to know what happens next. Yeah, I'm very intrigued.
Oh, sorry about that.
You okay? Did you fall over? Did your
No,
cat
it-
sabotage you?
Erin, would you
It's on
like
a card-
to give us your
Yeah.
thoughts?
It's on a cardboard box and Willow
Well,
knocked.
I was curious. I was trying to figure out, did they ever tell us how old and like what, like AJ's breakdown? I'm like scrolling
Yeah.
back.
Page 5.
He's in his 20s.
Yeah.
So it came like way late. So
Yeah,
like that's why I
did.
like it. I missed that. For some reason I thought it was somebody else. I don't know. Now that I'm looking at it, I remember it being read. Sorry. I feel like they read like there was an interesting dynamic where they kind of at some points read like almost like both even a little bit older, like 40 to 60 or something for me. Or like one of they'd been at this for a while and one of them mentored the other one. I don't know. I kind of felt like that's what I was confused about their ages for some reason. I don't know. And I was also confused about like the difference between like the dream sequences and the not dream sequences, but then they were in a dream sequence. Like because I mean everything everybody else said I agree with. Like I thought it was really well written and really, really intriguing, and the visuals were really like very like nice tight descriptions though, that were really I really loved that part of it. They're very clear and beautiful. But I definitely think too, like the getting to the you know, the NESS in the year like earlier. I don't know, maybe there's a reason why. I'm curious about that. And then or like yeah, like something in the beginning that's kind of like Angela said, kind of like a boom. I found there was very, very few typos, a couple typos. And I don't know, everything everybody else said I agreed with. I thought it was really well written. The visuals were good. I thought it was really interesting. I want to finish reading the whole thing now. I think it's there.
I think you've brought up something else, Erin, that I hadn't really thought about, but it makes me think now. You're saying that you were confused with the dream sequence and then the other sequence, which appeared to be even more dreamlike in a way, and yet wasn't type of dream sequence. But made me think, well, we were talking about Inception earlier, and that Inception does have very clear a sort of a way into the dream and a way out of the dream, and that's signaled very clearly so that you know which is real life, as it were, and which is dream life, and there's no blurring of the lines.
I think what's going on is that initially Harlow is daydreaming within the dream, and I think that's where we're potentially confused in that we're seeing his daydream before we then get to work. And even though it's a really great sequence, it is potentially confusing, but I think it's written in such a way as to, you stumble across it on Netflix and go, "Ooh, what's this?" And you're watching the first few minutes going, "What the hell's going on?" And then wham, we go, "Oh right, okay, so that's what we are." Inception meets Ghostbusters, right?
I just watched a little bit of clarity. That's all. I think maybe.
I watched an episode of Black Mirror. I think it was like and it's very like Twilight Zone-y. And it started with, you knew something was different, but you weren't sure what was going on, and then it went into what was kind of, and then it was showing how they were transitioning like back and forth. I don't know why I've been watching shows like this lately, actually, too. There's another one called Vortex that's on Netflix that was really interesting, where they used technology to like go back and forth into like crime scenes, but so there's like a little bit more clarity with that. I feel like would be really cool. Some way in and out. I feel like
as a writer, I can vouch, and I've been told this myself of some of my things, and I can. It's absolutely true. There is a tendency when you're writing something to think that your reader, your audience, knows more than knows what you know.
What do you know?
And knows more than there's actually written on the page. And so you've got to be a bit careful about that.
Or the opposite extreme sometimes people do, don't they?
Or you go, so it's quite Rory, what's your thoughts?
I think it's got legs. It's great. I could see it really clearly in my imagination when reading it. I thought it was all really nicely crafted. Drags you in straight away. I want to read the rest of it. I want to see it. I want to be in it. I thought it was. I think it's a great piece of work. Very, very interesting. Very exciting, and I'm pretty sure this is going to land on someone's desk sometime soon, or they're going to snap it up.
I
hope so. Anyway, because it deserves. Because it's. I mean, it's in the right vein with a whole load of stuff that's working with audiences at the moment. So I think it's a winner.
Okie dokie. Fabulous. So John?
Absolutely loved it. Definitely going to read it tonight, the whole thing. As Rory said when they cast it.
Okay, you're cast already.
You can rewrite AJ to Rory. Beautifully written. Shameless. Absolutely beautifully written. And as everybody else has said, the images almost jump off the page. You can see this as you're reading it, which is very rare in a script, to be honest with you. You normally have to throw in a bit of imagination. Not with this. It's all there, laid out beautifully. Absolutely loved it. I cannot see anything about this that I didn't like. I love the humor. It's so subtle, but at the same time, it's ridiculously English humor. To be over the top with so many words and so subtle about it that everybody watching it would be like, "Oh, yeah, get that." Wonderful. I did think that AJ is obviously new to this, and Harlow sees himself as some kind of professor, teacher, Svengali, whatever. And
there's a bit of the Fight Club in that, isn't there?
Yeah, and even if
first rule of Fight Club is we don't talk.
There is no rule.
It's that kind of.
There is no Fight Club. Yeah.
You can imagine you can imagine a takeaway phrase from this if they were to coin a phrase.
It will be instigator.
Yeah.
Instigate.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Or bait, not partner. I love that. But
Fabulous.
yeah, absolutely loved it.
Thanks, guys. I hope that's helpful, Simon.